landscape. Guinea Plushenko, at 16, he could become the youngest men's champion in history. Alexei Yagudin, the 19-year-old reigning world champion. Michael Wiese, 22 years of age and still celebrating his first U.S. national title. 25-year-old Alexei Urmanov, who's 5 years removed from his Olympic gold medal. And 3-time world champion Elvis Stojko. A world champion will be crowned when we return to Helsinki.
America Online
on tape, possibly signaling to each other. During the free skate of the pairs competition won by Berezhnaya and Sikarulidze, it appears the Russian and Ukrainian judges could have been collaborating. Does it seem the Russian judge on the right is moving his foot with intent while the Ukrainian judge is watching? Chairperson Sally Ann Stapleford spoke for the judges.
I guess I conclude with everybody else that there was some kind of contact, but whether it was concerning the skating, it's, you can't say.
But judges are forbidden any communication. As it states in Rule 426, judges are not permitted to converse with one another or to indicate errors by action or sound.
You say to the judges that once they're on the stand, they are viewed. I said, you've got television cameras everywhere. Everybody is focusing on you. So please keep absolutely focused ahead. I said, don't let anybody give them an opportunity to criticize you, because people will criticize, rightly or wrongly. They will say, oh, you were talking about that, you were talking. So never give them the chance of criticizing you.
Sally Ann Stapleford said that as of this moment, there is no reason for reprimand, but that the judges tonight will be even more vigilant in appearing solitary in their decisions. Well, in other news, the skating world was shocked to hear of the impending retirement of longtime coach Richard Callahan, who directed Tara Lipinski to the Olympic gold and guided Todd Eldredge throughout his career. Richard Callahan told me that after 27 years, he is simply tired of the travel, and he said, quote, there are no other circumstances involved in this decision. He said he'd like to stay on with Todd Eldredge as a consultant, and that for this competition, he has signed a 3-week agreement to coach Angela Nikodinov. Terry?
All right, Leslie, thank you. Straight ahead from Helsinki, Michael Wiese and the final group of skaters eye the gold medal. The men's title is on the line next.
Practically everybody in this championship, that it's no longer exclusive. One after the other they're doing them, and there have been some beauties.
Zheng Xinguo of China held on for his, and then Takeshi Honda had a beautiful.
And look at the ease of it and the lightness of it. I mean, the jumping here is spectacular.
So already it's been a great night, but here is the final group, and there's your overall leader. Yevgeny Plushenko, at the age of 16, could become the youngest men's world champion in history if he can hold it together for the next 4.5 minutes when he takes the ice. Right behind him in second place, the reigning world champion, Alexei Yagudin, his countryman from Russia. He's had an injured left calf, but it hasn't slowed him down at all throughout this competition. And the 3-time world champion, Elvis Stojko of Canada. What a tough 1.5 years he's had trying to come back from the groin injury. He's battled his way to 3rd place and in a position perhaps to win. And there's Michael Wiese. Terrific week. He is in 4th place overall right now. He had his first quad jump ever in competition during the qualifying rounds.
And he started out this practice session with enormous energy.
Well, ever since Dick Button, our colleague, took this sport higher and higher back in the 40s and the 50s, the jumps have just continued to evolve. They've gotten higher and higher as well. And now, as Dick tells us, the quad has become the benchmark for the men these days.
In a sport known for artistry and grace, the quadruple jump, a move of raw power and athleticism, is now defining men's skating. The quad. It defies gravity, and it's a true test of courage.
Rotation can happen quite easily when we leave the ice. However, controlled rotation is another thing. You can see guys jump into the air and spin as many times as they can, but have no idea where they are. That is what makes the quad so difficult.
Airborne for less than a second, the difficulty of the quad is magnified when attempted under pressure. After several attempts, U.S. national champion Michael Wiese was just credited with his first quad in competition this week.
There's only a handful of people in the world right now that can do a quadruple jump, and you know, you think of it as just one more rotation, but one more rotation is 10 times harder.
Imagine trying to jump up in the air and spin around 4 times. Now imagine balancing on a very thin piece of steel and gliding on a very slippery surface. And you have to go from 1 foot, jump up, turn around 4 times, and land on 1 foot, gliding backward.
Until a few years ago, the quad was performed by few men. But today, skaters are doing it in combination with other jumps. 3-time world champion Elvis Stojko has pioneered many combinations, but still feels added pressure before attempting them.
You usually in practice, you feel the timing, you know it. But when you go to competition, you're numb. You're nervous, you're stressed, and now you got to trust it. That's a whole different ball of wax. That's why it's so difficult.
In the 11 years since Kurt Browning changed the course of figure skating with the first ever quad at the 1988 World Championships, skaters have continued to raise the bar. Now the quad is not only allowed in the short program, but it's almost becoming a necessity.
The sport has definitely reached a level where, for the male skaters, they have to be able to do 8 triples in a quad. I think it'll be a rare situation where one of the men becomes a world champion without that kind of a long program.
Nonetheless, Kurt Browning and Elvis Stojko remain the only world champions to have won with a quad. 1996 champion Todd Eldridge won when he impressed the judges with a program full of brilliant triples.
If you've got a skater that goes out and does all his triples great and has great style, then the judges have to kind of decide what's more important with the program.
The philosophy that we are being preached at is that you award a clean jump a higher mark than a poorly performed jump, so that we should reward a clean triple a higher mark than a poorly performed quad.
Whether the 1999 world champion will need a quad remains to be seen, but clearly the quadruple jump is the future.
Well, the future seems to have arrived ahead of schedule. It's already here. And Brian, is there any downside to this quad mania?
Well, I think it's going to take its toll on their longevity. The window of peak performance may get smaller to 1 or 2 years because it's so physically demanding.
How about Plushenko now? What can we expect from him tonight?
Well, what you look for with Plushenko, 8 triples. Now, this is his strength. The speed going into them, the height, the quickness of rotation. With his quad, look for him to repeat it if he misses it. With the Bielman spin, it's a show of flexibility, which is unusual for a male skater. And with maturity, well, youth works for him on one level. That's technical level. And yet on the artistic level, it works against him.
How about Elvis Stojko, Dick?
Well, you've got pretty much the same group of things. There's going to be the usual 8 triples, and he is really a powerful jumper right down the line. You're going to have to watch every one of those. He's got 2 quads planned. Now, that is right at the peak of the situation. Remember his footwork. It's strong, it's powerful, it's very fast. He has learned to develop in this area. But the main question is, will he go all out because of his groin injury?
Well, sit back and enjoy a who's who list in this final group. The order in which they will skate: Elvis Stojko takes the ice first. Then it's Alexei Yagudin, the reigning world champion, Alexei Urmanov, the 94 Olympic champ, then Plushenko, the leader, Andrei Blashenko of Germany, and Michael Wiese, the U.S. champion, will skate last.